This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor Live from Palm Beach, Florida. Well, there may be a breakthrough in the hostage discussions in Israel. In the next 24 hours or less, actually, by tomorrow morning, we should know. Now, I am assuming, although it isn't explicit in the reports that are out, that it's all 100 remaining hostages, as well as the bodies of those who have been brutally tortured and murdered by these animals. But it doesn't say that. And there was a number being thrown around of 30. And it gave me a horrible feeling. And I hope I'm very much wrong about this, and I probably am, that only 30 are left. If that's the case, after the hostages come back, uh, uh, well, after the hostages come back, I really don't want to hear about Hamas anymore. Like, remember that line in The Godfather? You're not going to hear from Paulie anymore. Yeah, maybe it's time. There's more. The more of them that are alive, the more of us that are going to die. So it's real simple. And of course, Trump has said, and I do think they know he's serious. If they're not released by the time he's got the power, which means 12:01 on January 20th, 12:01 p.m., all hell will break loose. And they will be hit with something they have never dreamed of. I got a pretty good idea what that is, don't you? Yeah. And you think he's bluffing? Who would like to bet with me that he's? I say he's not bluffing. Anybody out there that says he's bluffing? Wouldn't this be a perfect opportunity to show Z and Putin? And wouldn't it be opportunity to change the atmosphere like that? Boom. I mean, I hope the hostages are released. He'll get plenty of opportunities to do it, so you don't have to go looking for one. But this would be a perfect opportunity to, of course, taking out the nuclear facilities in Iran would be another good one, and probably a more fruitful one, because hopefully they're going to turn them over, and a lot of them are still alive. The Senate, much to my astonishment, is close to passing the Laken Riley bill. They had a preliminary vote of 82 to 10. Now, there are still 10 Democrats against it. There were a lot of them in the House that were against it, who seem to want to facilitate illegal alien rape, murder. It's like the Democrats in California who want to and did reduce the penalties for pedophilia. I mean, when we go over this fire stuff and you see how crazy they are. On my prior show, I just pointed out how they save some stupid flower, and as a result of that, a whole area of California was burned because they wouldn't put in the new fire poles that were fire retardant. So they kept up the old wooden ones that burned like hell and contributed to the destruction of property. Oh, and by the way, the 200 plants they wanted to save also went up in flames. These are the same people that vote to reduce the penalties for pedophiles. Okay. Hmm. So this bill may pass. Laken Riley, you may recall, was brutally murdered by a man from Athens, Georgia, named Ibarra. Oh, no. He was just falsely described that way originally in the press, as were many. But he came from Venezuela. Oh, and he was part of a gang called, we never heard this name 4 years ago, Tren Daragua, which will eternally be linked with the worst president of the United States, who's about to roll out of the White House. I am not a betting person. Maybe a few friendly bets here and there. I don't know. I don't like to lose. I mean, I guess if you won all the time, I'd bet. But how about, is Biden going to go to the inauguration, Ted? I thought he was going to watch it in the White House, they said. But he has to leave the White House. He may have to watch it on the road. I mean, there are several nice bars near Capitol Hill, particularly, on the House side. I always liked a couple on the House side. Yeah, not, bar where you can watch a football game.
How can I not remember? That's been so long.
He could get he could get a ham. I don't know what he eats other than vanilla ice cream, but she could feed him a hamburger, or and they could watch it on TV as he takes off and gets the hell out of. Is he going to go on Air Force One to
Bull feathers?
What?
Remember bull feathers?
Yeah. They're it is sort of like the difference of the House and the Senate. On the House side, there are big bars, like old-fashioned bars. On the Senate side, there are more pristine restaurants.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yep, 100%.
I don't think Biden is fitting there, but the bar be good for him, and who knows? He may pick up a few more foreign clients there.
Ooh.
And he'd actually be able to take money now without just being a bribe. I was very happy to see that Melania Trump has made it clear she's going to permanently reside in the White House, and Barron's going to come and visit on a regular basis. Very, very nice. I like that. I think she added, I was in the White House very frequently during his first term, in some ways almost more like a guest than a staffer, because I was his private lawyer, and myself and Jay Sekulow. And we were up in the residence a lot because we wanted to have some privacy from the leakers, which you can't believe how many there were, because it was confidential. There used to be something. Oh, did you know there used to be something in America called the attorney-client privilege? Absolutely. So that ended. It ended around the time that the Biden and Christopher Wray and the Gestapo, the FBI raided my law office and others' law offices. And when you weren't allowed to invoke the attorney-client privilege, and when Trump when they began persecuting Trump's lawyers. To see if they turn on him, or also if they couldn't get him to turn on him, they got a couple to turn. I do not mention their names, but most didn't turn, because most were like me, like Professor Eastman. They were honorable men and women, but like Christina Bobb, like Boris. But there were a couple of skunks, always are a couple of skunks. I don't even know what they said of any significance, because they didn't know anything. They didn't know anything wrong, because he didn't do anything wrong. People, every once in a while, there'd be a thing like, I was going to turn, or Boris was going to turn, or somebody else was going to turn. And do what? Tell the truth? Yeah, I could turn and tell the truth. He didn't do anything wrong. He didn't commit a crime. You are making it up. Now Smith gets to put out a report of what he made up. This is outrageous that you allow a prosecutor who is prohibited from trying his case and has a reputation of being one of the most unethical prosecutors in the history of the Justice Department, laid out in detail in an opinion of the United States Supreme Court, 8-0, the McDonald opinion. Go read it, and then say to yourself, it is quite clear that he was selected to be a hitman, because that's what he did to Governor McDonald. Well, it hasn't ended. As you know, I'm in the middle of a pretty brutal lawfare experience. I'm not going to talk about it tonight, but over the course of the week, we probably will. But because there are things of more moment right now. But the Hague said hearing concerns me. Do you think this is the most difficult one, Ted?
Look, I think RFK will be difficult just because of his opponents, who he's up against with that.
Who is he up against?
Oh, big pharma.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a lot of money with those commercials.
This is the military-industrial complex. I mean,
you're right. So I guess they're both up against it. But I do think RFK has a proven track record, maybe, of being strongly against some of these special interests, including not just, I don't want to just beat up on big pharma. I mean, even someone like Nabisco, right?
We should call up Andrew. I was gonna ask him today. I don't know why I was gonna ask him today. I had a conversation with something else, but I was gonna ask him because he and his wife are really up on this. Maybe Dr. Maria will remember. Andrew said to me that when he was a young boy, which is in the 1980s, right? He had to take 8 vaccines. The number now is 28 or something, or 30. By the time you get to 5, it's 50. Is there any room on the child's arm to do these vaccines? Well, where do you put them? It's like, do they know what's in them? Or are these vaccines like the COVID multi-trillion-dollar moneymaker, which they didn't bother to test? You know, that one, when Zuckerberg does his mea culpa and says, I'm going to be on the side of free speech, look, I'm all in favor of redemption, and I'm all in favor of people admitting they're wrong, and I'm all in favor of people trying to make up for it. And I believe legitimate people do that. I think, in fact, some of the best people have a history of that. I was talking earlier, I don't know, on this show or the other one, about the Confessions of St. Augustine, which is a beautiful book. You should read it. Short, and it's very timely, even though it goes back, 1700 years. St. Augustine of Hippo was one of the great doctors of the Catholic Church and of the Christian Church. He was the pre-Reformation era. So I happened to go get a new copy of my book by seeing a beautiful copy of it while I was waiting to give a talk in an evangelical pastor's office. And I was reading it before I went out to speak. And then I loved the book so much, I got a copy of it. And reread it for the third time. He had a very, very, what he thought of as a very raunchy childhood, youth, you know. He caroused. Now, by today's standards, the guy was, not. I mean, what would shock people then was very different than now. But okay, relative to him being a saint of the Catholic Church, he was a pretty wild kid. And then he had an awakening, and one could say he was reborn, right? And through his mother, who was also a saint of the Catholic Church, and became one of the greatest thinkers in the history of theology, really, and philosophy. So Pete Hegseth is being questioned now.
Let's
yes, go ahead, Ted. I know we have something on that.
Well, let's play a clip, and this is Mr. Hegseth, Pete, as we'll call him, commenting on something that you regularly talk about. And I think this will give us an idea of just the type of person we would have leading the Department of Defense.
Before the House Armed Services Committee a couple of years ago, and responding to a question from me, said he had, quote, no regrets about what happened in Afghanistan. I wonder, what do you make of that?
Senator, it's shameful. They still tout it as the most successful airlift in American history, when what the rest of us all saw was true laid before our eyes. Utter failure, a destruction of a military legacy there, abandonment of our allies, death of American troops, detriment to our reputation, and then no answers and no accountability on the other side. And then what was unleashed because of what happened in Afghanistan? The October 7th attacks, an invasion into Ukraine, The world recognized weakness for what it was. And who bore the brunt for it? The troops on the front lines at Abbey Gate doing an impossible job, whose external security was the Taliban, because there was no actual plan for this under the Biden administration. And yet, not a single person, the only person held accountable in those moments was a Marine Corps lieutenant colonel who had the courage to stand up and say someone should be held accountable for that. His name is Stu Scheller. No one else involved has ever taken accountability for it. And when that microcosm becomes the reality of the perception of the American military or America's commitment to victory and success and positive outcomes, the world responds to that. President Trump is going to restore real deterrence by bringing a real warrior culture back, rebuilding our military, and ending wars properly. And if we have to fight them, winning them decisively.
How do you disagree with that? Although I would say, Pete, one minor suggestion: don't use the word microcosm without supplying an interlinear translation for the morons. Okay. I don't know that many of them would have picked it up, particularly on the Democrat side. And their questioning of him was outrageous about whether he drank and women, and like they've never done any of that. The perfect people. God, what hypocrites.
That's right, Mayor. And now we're going to bring on our first guest of the night, Cameron Kinsey. She is executive director of Confirm 47, organization that is supporting President Trump's nominees.
Confirm 47.
That's right. And Cameron, correct me if I'm wrong, were you the youngest or one of the youngest persons to work in President Trump's first White House, correct?
I was, yes.
What'd you do?
So I was the external relations director in the presidential personnel office. As you guys know, personnel is policy, and we were onboarding all of the political appointees into the administration across all designated agencies and departments.
So now you're involved in helping with the arduous process of these quick confirmations that have to be done very quickly with a very hostile Democratic group in the Senate?
Unfortunately, I think there's an audio lag. I can't hear you guys right now.
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
I'm going to put you on through our system here. So we should be able to solve this.
We can hear you.
I can hear you now.
Can you hear us now?
Okay, great. Yeah, I can hear you now. It's been cutting in and out for me. But did you ask me? I'm assuming you asked me a question.
Can you put it louder, Ted?
Yep. All right, ask her again.
Good.
So Cameron, can you talk about kind of today, the process? And
Were you there with Pete Hegseth? Oh, we're still having trouble, Ted. I can see that she can't hear what I'm saying. Do you want to ask the question?
how about, can you hear us now, Cameron? All right. Well, we'll try to get her back on here.
Get back to you, Cameron, and get it working right. It's obviously we had her.
Yeah.
Then you when you change things, we couldn't hear it. We couldn't hear her.
Right.
So there's something going wrong there in the switcheroo. So we'll find out what that is. We'll get back to her in about 10 minutes, okay, if she can hold on. Biden has given away another $4 billion, what the hell, to the students. Illegal. Supreme Court says can't do it. What does he care? I mean, this is nothing compared to the 31 million he took from China, right? Walking out of the White House. What? He's going to go straight to the foreign bank account, so wait a little. I bet Jill knows where the foreign bank accounts are. I bet the first stepmother knows where they are. I bet Navy doesn't get anything out of it. Did they ever have Navy to the White House? Their little granddaughter, who they treated like the mean witches they are. Special counsel David Weiss defended himself today and laid out a report of just why they prosecution of Hunter Biden, which was undermined by Biden's unbelievably broad pardon of a guy for 10 years of criminality. Interestingly, starting a month before he went to work for Burisma, the company that I revealed that he was working for, that was crooked as hell. The same company that the lawyer who is going after me in this case from Wilkie Farr, Michael Gottlieb, worked for, the crooked company Burisma. Think there's a connection between the two? Joe, when he pardoned his son in an obvious admission of their joint criminality, had to go ahead and ridiculously take shots at a Justice Department that fixed the case for him. What they laid out for him to plead guilty to was the least he could plead guilty to. And if he had stuck with their original bargain, he would have gotten away with everything. So Weiss, I don't know Weiss's story really, but he lays out quite accurately that this guy was not treated harshly. What he can't do, because he's the one who violated the laws and the rules, I'll tell you all the breaks that he gave, like ignoring all the Chinese money, ignoring the whiff of traitorous conduct there, ignoring all of the documents that he stole from the Congress and made available to the Chinese communists, including at the Biden Penn Center, which is supported with $68 million of red Chinese money. I mean, none of that was investigated, all of which could lead to major prison time for the Biden crime family. Please get the book, Biden Crime Family. It's written by, Rudolph Giuliani. Yeah.
I've heard of him. Well, Mayor, let's give Cameron one more try here. She thinks we think we have this
Cameron,
figured out here.
We're sorry. We hope it works now.
No, it does. It does. I can hear you just fine. Thank you so much for your patience.
Okay.
I just had to
Put it down,
go on
put it
my
down just a
phone.
little, Ted. Well, that's wonderful. So, Cameron, tell me about Pete's testimony today.
Yeah, I think he did an amazing job. He answered all of their questions very thoughtfully. He was very mature. He had a lot of couth and tact. We can't say the same for a lot of those female liberal senators that we saw today during the hearing. And I think that he handled himself very well. He started his opening statement thanking his wife, his kids, his Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. And I think that represents the American values that we need to get back to. And he stood strong. And I think that we're going to see him get confirmed and be able to become Secretary of Defense.
Who was on that committee? Forget the Dems, among the Republicans that might be a question.
So, well, one that really stood out to me that I thought was going to be a little bit of a tougher challenge was Senator Joni Ernst. She said that she was, very on the fence with Pete. She had a lot of questions for him. I do believe that they were able to meet on Capitol Hill to discuss her concerns with Pete and his personal life and some allegations that have been made from quote unquote anonymous sources. Gotta love that. So I think that they were able to have a really great discussion, and I do believe that she has turned her vote to a yes.
Would that be the one that you would single out as the question mark?
I think that I think that she was a question at first. I do believe her, as well as some other Democrats, had brought up, I guess, the drinking allegations from when he was at Fox News, brought up different allegations in previous marriages. But look, this is what they're known for, right? These are smear campaigns, they're lies that are being touted. It's a coordinated effort between these Democrats and the mainstream media in order to halt President Trump's agenda. We saw this in 2016 when they were slow rolling Trump's nominees and their background checks in order for them not to be able to get confirmed. We're seeing the same political theater and the games being played now by the Democrats when Gillibrand was questioning him, when Senator Warren was questioning him, when Senator Hirono was questioning him. That was nothing more than political theater. It was nothing more than a show that the Democrats could put on just to get the soundbite that they wanted in order to throw that on X to get the clicks. And then nothing was thoughtful. It was all these hypothetical situations of what may happen. We weren't talking about the budget. We weren't talking about military recruitment being at all-time lows under the Biden-Harris administration. We weren't talking about how we modernize our military and talking about our lethality. All they did were pose hypothetical questions. The only thoughtful questions that I heard were from fellow Republicans like Jim Banks, like Mullen, and some others who have served in combat.
Mullen was great.
Mullen was great, who have served in combat and knows what it takes. He is unconventional. He was called that multiple times during the hearing, but I think that's a good thing. We also saw that President Trump was unconventional in 2015 when he rode down the escalator announcing his candidacy for president. And I know that President Trump has a sound mind. He's a great pick, and Pete is really what we need in the Pentagon right now.
Thank you very, very much. Are you going to be working with other ones? Are there like different ones assigned to people?
For Confirm 47, I mean, we're dedicated to supporting every single nominee that Trump has nominated for the 47th administration. I know that we have a couple of hearings tomorrow. There's a couple at the same time, and I'll have to take a look at that. I know Kristi Noem is among one, as is Marco Rubio and some others. So I do believe that it's going to be a longer fight tomorrow as well, but we have to get these people confirmed because, like I said before, working in the presidential personnel office, personnel is policy. This is how Trump enacts his America First agenda. This is how we push his agenda forward. And so that is why we have to confirm these people. We have to keep fighting. Even if we think that the votes are secure and locked in, we shouldn't hesitate. You never know what the Democrats are going to pull, and they have a few tricks up their sleeves. So we definitely have to keep fighting.
Sure, I'm sure that. So you have also Tulsi Gabbard, right, to go, and Robert Kennedy. There'll be some fireworks there. There shouldn't be, but there will be.
Absolutely.
So, and who knows? Probably a surprise or two.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, Pam Bondi's among them tomorrow as well. And Pam Bondi, I think, just came out saying that she would release the Epstein files. So I think that we're.
Oh my God! Did she say it?
I correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that she said that along with Kash Patel. I do think Kash Patel, we're going to see a bigger fight like we did with Pete today. I mean, there was, Doug Burgum was supposed to be at, I believe, the 30-minute mark after Pete, and then they rescheduled him to Thursday, but no wonder. I mean, Pete's hearing went on for hours. We knew that was going to be a long and trying fight, but he did a great job.
The Democrats were annoyed they're not going to get another session.
Yeah.
So they can make fools out of themselves one more time. Well, let's hope it goes well. I think it will. There's no reason after the hearing to not assume he's going to get through and go to the floor. So congratulations. Good luck with the rest. And we'll have you on again when we have another interesting one, okay?
Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very, very much.
Thanks, Cameron.
And thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
And now we'll take a break and we'll be right back. Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's Coffee.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast.
Right, well, you got
To celebrate the new year, we're having the biggest sale ever on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save 60% on our Goose Down comforters, the best comforters ever. They go perfectly with our MyPillow bed sheets and duvet covers. Save 25% on our brand new kitchen towels. They're made with the same technology as our famous My Towels. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. Our seasonal flannel sheets are finally in. You save up to 50%, and they sell out fast every year, so order now. They're truly the best flannel sheets you'll ever sleep on. Or save up to 80% on all our clearance items. And this is where it gets even better. For a limited time, your entire order ships absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use that promo code to get deep discounts on all MyPillow products. And for a limited time, your order.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with you. I think you caught me having a bite. I don't know. I think so. Did they catch me? Ted?
no, we went to a third ad. That's why we went to
Yeah. No, that Ted is so tricky.
What were you eating?
Pretzel. I was eating a little pretzel.
Do you prefer the hard pretzels or the soft pretzels?
Doesn't matter. Like them both.
You like the salt, huh?
Uh-huh. Adams versus Cuomo in New York to figure out who can chase more people out of New York. As governor, Cuomo was a living, breathing disaster. Hochul gets certainly her share of criticism, but and Adams, but they're living with what Cuomo did to them. Cuomo passed a bill that put all the criminals back out on the street. So there are 7,000 to 9,000 people walking the streets of New York that would be in jail when I was the mayor or Bloomberg was the mayor. But thanks to his 2019 bail law, they were all out on the street, including one that just about killed somebody the other day. And that's not uncommon. I mean, I used to cover all of them, particularly when I was on WABC radio, but it was getting to be too many. Cuomo also figured out a way to make sure that his biggest donors, the nursing homes, made their share of the money when COVID was going on by stuffing old people with COVID in the worst place they could be, nursing homes. So they died at much larger numbers and in a much more uncomfortable situation without their children or grandchildren or being able to see them. Such a nice guy. And also will double cross you for any reason imaginable if you get in his way. So he's running and he's leading by 32%. And he's way ahead of left wingers who are insane, and then Adams, who is better than him. Adams, whatever Adams' problems, including his corruption problems, they're no worse than Cuomo, and at least Adams has much more sensible ideas. Not the courage to carry them through all the time, but at least he has them, and he's not as much of a snake as Cuomo can be. So New York is in pretty bad shape right now. 32%. He's ahead. He looks like he's going to be the winner because of the name Cuomo. I would think the name would be a disgrace after the 11 or 12 women, like not one or two, 11 or 12. But he's a Democrat, so you get away with that. If you're a Republican like Hegseth, it can be an anonymous woman. If you're a Democrat like Biden, it can be a woman on the record who works for you, but she's lying. So, boy, helps to be a crooked Democrat, huh? Adams is seeking a powwow with President Trump. The issue really is he's probably wants to seek a pardon to obviate this federal case that's coming up, which does have a rather questionable tinge to it. I mean, it didn't get brought until the day he got the first subpoena went out the day that he went to the White House to complain about Biden bringing in so many illegal criminals into the United States. He brought a couple of mayors with him at the time, and it threatened to be a problem for Biden. And it looked like Biden Menendezed him, which is Menendez also, was convicted. So we're not arguing that Menendez was guilty. The court says he was guilty, but I don't think Menendez would still be sitting in the Senate if he kept his mouth shut and kissed Biden's backside. Because they don't go after criminals. They go after people who double-crossed a family, like the mafia. That's why I wrote the book, The Biden Crime Family, because they are very, very similar to the mafia. The only difference with them and the mafia families that I convicted had more evidence against the Bidens. Although the mafia threatened to kill me at one point or another, they decided not to. The Biden people, including that Gottlieb and Wilkie Farr people that I said before, want to kill you in a different way, financially, your reputation, and everything else, because you dare to go after the biggest crook that ever sat in the White House. Well, not stopping me or shut me up. I'm an American. Sorry. I have a right to my opinion. And I have a right to express it, and I have a right to try to persuade people. Probably the critical confrontation in the world, although people are awaiting with bated breath the first meeting of Trump and Putin, is Trump and Xi Jinping. That's really the critical one. Xi Jinping is still, I'm sure, absolutely committed to overtaking the United States. Originally, it was going to be 2048 or 49. Let me make sure. It's the 100th anniversary. It would be 48, yeah, because it's the 100th anniversary of the defeat of Chiang Kai-shek. And that would have been in 1948. So by 2048, he wants to be in charge of the world. What I just said to you is absolutely true. Not only that, he's been writing it for a long time, despite the fact that he's got an awful lot of traitors in the United States of one kind or another that he's paid off to help him do that. Newspapers, owns a third to half of Hollywood. You'll never get a Hollywood movie that's anti-Chinese. I mean, never. He owns the NBA. They might as well be playing. They might as well be playing in China, and we might as well have Chinese numbers instead of the other numbers. And the ball players seem to also love the red Chinese. No one ever confronts the fact that they've killed more of their own people than any group of people on earth, that they are engaging in several major genocides, that, among other things, they kill Christians, want to wipe them out as much as possible. But he has tremendous infiltration within the United States. And then he's got Donald Trump, who he tried to take out a couple of times and didn't. So let's see what happens. And oh, by the way, given their own internal problems, that prediction of passing us by 2048 now looks extremely questionable. At one point, they were bringing it down to 2030. Now they're taking it way up to the turn of the century. Let's see what Trump can do about getting rid of it permanently. There was an article today that the odds of developing dementia are greater than you think. Prior research suggested that 14% of men and 23% of women get dementia. Now it's 48% for women and 42% for men. No, 35% for men. And I don't know how to read that. That seems awfully high given the number of people that I know. It would seem to me that I would know a lot of people that have dementia. I know one, he's in the White House. And they point to demographic factors as well as genetic factors, and quite clearly affects women more than men. And I have in my own group of friends and acquaintances and seen it more with men than women. But it is the difference is 35% to 48% of women after 55. So it can be ameliorated, meaning not cured, but stretched out and really dealt with if you catch it at an early stage. Very much like almost any illness, I would say, any chronic or long-term illness. The earlier you get it, the greater chance you have of curing it or reducing it to something somewhat acceptable. So I guess pay more attention to it. Maybe the Biden thing will get people to think about it a little more. Yes, Ted.
That's right, Mayor. And now maybe we'll check in over on the fires in California. We have
let's go to the fires. The fires in California are still, they're down, as I understand it now, they're down to 3. But everything has gotten worse.
So we have joining us now once again, Katie Zachariah. She's actually senior advisor to the organization Fix California. And she was texting me, Mayor, as you were talking about China, and she wanted you to know that she spent significant time in Beijing. Are they big NBA fans over there, Katie?
Yeah, big NBA fans for sure, and growing, and baseball, if you can imagine that.
Well, I can't imagine that, but I mean, the part that bothers me is that the NBA are big red Chinese fans.
Absolutely.
Yeah, they seem to suck up to the communists.
They do.
But, what is going on now? We see that they've consolidated into 3 fires. And then there's this prediction they're going to get worse, but it sounds like they've abated somewhat. So where are we right now?
Yeah, they've abated some, and that's thanks to the hard work of firefighters that are understaffed and underpaid and under budget. And also the fact that the Santa Ana winds continue to come and go. And today was a lighter day for the Santa Ana winds. So we've seen the firefighters be able to get some ground with the fires, especially in the Palisades. But the Kenneth fire that was near me when I was on with you last time was actually set by an illegal alien arson with a blowtorch. And that fire was put out very quickly, thankfully, because the winds moved and shifted. But can you believe that?
No, I can't believe it. But I mean, we're going to have this, well after Biden is gone, he's going to leave his legacy because there'll be a lot of these criminals around doing stuff like this. And they kept saying, oh, these aren't criminals who are coming in. You open the borders and criminals come in by the boatload. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Yeah.
So, but if the winds were to get much heavier again, which they predict they will, does that mean the fires get like they were? They become terrible again?
Yes, the fires move rapidly through, especially a lot of our canyons, Malibu Canyon, Topanga Canyon. You know, in the Palisades, it was Temescal Canyon. Mandeville Canyon is in Brentwood. All these canyons are just these funnels for fires and wind, and that really spurs the fires and moves them out. Last night, we had some massive winds, and just north of us in Ventura County, so it's LA County and then Ventura County, a fire was set. They say it's an auto fire, but all these fires being, you know, randomly starting is a little bit circumspect. Or suspect. So we had another fire, but they put that out as well. It's just too much with the fires.
And now there's also a movement starting to recall Governor Newsom.
Yeah.
And how I remember that was done before, back at the turn of this century, right? And it worked. You think it can work with him?
Gray Davis.
Gray Davis, yeah.
That gave us Schwarzenegger.
Yep, and Schwarzenegger. Well, we had an unsuccessful attempt with Gavin Newsom in 2021 where Larry Elder ran. And I think, though, this is different. I think the voters see right in front of them the metaphor for Gavin Newsom's governor reign, which is literally burning, and the state is burning. And I think people have had enough with the failed policies of Gavin Newsom. Outside of the fires, we have the lowest literacy rate, or the lowest literacy rate in the nation. We're at 77%. California's education system is an absolute failure. Our energy sector has been bludgeoned at the knees. He has not been effective in any part of his governance whatsoever. And so I think people are sick and tired of it. Another thing to note is that a lot of people have also been dropped by their insurance and had to join what's now called the California Fair Plan. It's a state plan, but that plan has a $3 million cap on damages. And so most of those homes, Rudy, in the Palisades are much more worth much more.
No question. Even the ones that we might think look modest because of the location end up being very high priced, right?
Yes.
And you can't look at a piece of property there, I don't think, for $3 million.
No, and the truth is we've reached $100 billion in damages. I was speaking with Assemblyman Bill Asaley from California, and he said we have eclipsed $100 billion in damages on this fire, which is astronomical. And we're already a state that's in a massive deficit. We're at $68 billion deficit. So I think really the question that we should all be asking is, what has Gavin Newsom actually done well? And what can he stand on as a way to defend himself against this recall?
Well, when is the next general election involving him?
He is termed out in 26. I think what we're looking at is, I think that Gavin Newsom really wants to run for president. I think that was his hope. I think that that's why
You don't think this ends it?
Well, I'm hoping it does. I think that that's why Californians have a mandate to make sure this recall can go through. We owe the rest of the United States our duty to make sure that Gavin Newsom does not have a chance to run for president. I mean, he has destroyed our state.
Yeah, you don't have to be a great political advisor or to see the ad. I mean, he can burn the whole country like he burned California.
Correct. It's what we saw with Kamala Harris and the failed sanctuary cities. That was, as President Trump rightly called her, the godmother of sanctuary cities. And those sanctuary cities have led to these policies that allow these illegal immigrants to reside and light fires in neighborhoods and then be, completely, they said that they didn't have probable cause to arrest him or jail him after this happened with a blowtorch. He was caught with a blowtorch.
Oh, did they arrest him?
They arrested him, and then they said, we can't keep him.
No. The guy set a fire with a blowtorch And he's out on the street now?
He's either out on the street or being released very soon.
And the state authorities are not allowed to turn him over to the federal authorities because of the illegal, I mean, that has to be illegal,
Yes.
sanctuary law.
Yes.
And interferes with the federal law.
Yes, and as you've heard, that is the law that Gavin Newsom has been running around California, saying that he's going to protect California from he's going to Trump-proof California and protect these sanctuary cities. Well, I'm sorry to say, but Californians want Trump's policies. We do not want the sanctuary cities anymore.
He doesn't have any big fires in the north. He could, he could send some of them up there and, empty out the fire hydrants.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these things, it almost seems like they do it on purpose. I mean, that deal that he had about the water coming down, and he diverted half of it to save the smelt fish. And then there's another one where they tried to save this plant, and that ended up with that whole area being burned down the other day, and all the plants were burned down too. I mean, are they? Is this on purpose? I mean, what is it? See, I think it's probably a Marxist plot to try to create chaos, so they can make us into a one world entity, so that we'll join Klaus Schwab and Prince Obama and Gates and everybody else in the one world fantasy, which would mean China.
Yes. Well, you're speaking to what's been warned about America, and what I see with China and their slow encroachment is it's really the Yuri Bezmenov, the KGB defector, talked about the destabilization of America as being one of the stages. And I think we're at destabilization. I think you're speaking exactly to the heart of what's happening. When you have policies that have shown to be continually ineffective, when you've been warned in 2018 by President Trump that you need to deal with the water and you don't do anything about it, there's an obvious negligence, a gross negligence on their part. But to your point, is it negligence or is it intentional? The Olympics are coming to Los Angeles, and he was talking about something with martial law. And then he did this. Did you see Gavin Newsom do this little dance when he was talking about keeping the big companies out from building? And, talk about being sympathetic to the people who have lost homes. And you're doing this when you're speaking about people coming and reacquiring their land. It's just actually kind of insane to me.
Yeah, there probably is something wrong with them. Ted, can we put on a picture for her to see of the I want to see if I'm pronouncing this right, the milk veg plant.
Yep, we're gonna get that on.
See this thing here, the milk veg plant. Do you see it yet?
Not yet.
See that? So that thing was growing, and they were trying to put in new power lines. They were trying to replace the wooden power lines that burn and contribute to a forest fire with ones that are made with steel and aluminum and that are fireproof. And if anything, maybe even if they get destroyed, they will not contribute to the fire, and they'll actually retard it. Well, they were prevented from doing it because the forest they wanted to go through, Topanga, this was the Topanga area, had these plants that are called the milk veg plant. That's it right there, that purple thing. So they didn't do it. And of course, the other day, the fire came. It took up the old poles that helped to make the fire much worse. And the whole area is now destroyed, including all the milk veg plants. So is this some kind of special plant? I don't know about because I don't come from California.
In fact, I never have heard of it I might have seen it while I'm driving, but I'd never heard of it. And it goes to the point that these policies are asinine. Save the smelt fish while Southern California burns. Save a brush or a shrub that's going to be completely decimated in a fire. And I think we're at 12,000 or something people are displaced as of right now. The number is continuing to grow, and we're just 24 deaths. So was that plant worth the deaths of 24 people? Is that what the California Coastal Commission and the Sierra Club are going to say, Mayor? That plant was worth your mom or your sister or your brother? This is asinine. And we see
They've
right
lost
now.
all.
Yeah, we see right now Gavin Newsom has decided to release some of the burdensome restrictions on building on the California, so really pulling back the restrictions of the California Coastal Commission, releasing some of the environmental restrictions so people can rebuild. But those restrictions have prevented us from just what you're talking about, from actual prevention of forest fires and from actual growth in Southern California. And so there is this, now you're undoing them, but if you had undone them, we could have actually prevented this from happening in the first place.
Right. Well, I'm glad you're able to give us some perspective about this, and we'll be back with you because I have a feeling there'll probably be some more during the week, hopefully not as bad. And maybe we'll check in on China as well, which is probably the major question of our age. So you take care of yourself, huh?
Thank you, Mayor, and
You're doing a great job.
congratulations on the Save Rudy. I saw that truth. That was awesome. I'm really happy.
Oh, did you see the New York Post? I got to show you the New York Post.
Yes.
Thank you.
Congratulations. Talk to you soon, Mayor.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks, Katie.
There, what she's referring to is President Trump tweeted out Sunday, save Rudy from my tormentors, the Volky Farr and Michael Gottlieb and the lawfare people.
Well, and Katie, we originally connected with her over these wildfires, but I've heard from so many folks. She's well known in California. She's part of this, I believe, Fix California group. She's very involved.
Boy, that's a big job.
Yeah.
You say Fix California like that for something normal. She signed up for a lifetime job.
Yeah.
Fix California.
So we'll want to come back to her on a number of subjects.
Maybe we'll.
That's Katie Zachariah.
Mostly psychiatrists and people with straitjackets. And let's face it, the place is a nut house.
Well, she's got her work cut out for her.
I used to think it was because there's too much marijuana and the brain starts to get soft, like the Godfather says. The Godfather thought that Sonny, his elder son, brain was getting soft because he was having too much sex with his mistress. But it could be that your brain gets soft with marijuana. So we'll have to find that little scene for tomorrow night in The Godfather, where the Godfather says to Sonny, "What's your brain getting soft? Your brain's getting soft, Sonny. With that girl, your brain's getting soft with that girl." He said, "My brain's getting soft with that weed."
That's from which Godfather?
One.
Really? All right. What the
Godfather 1, after the meeting with the Turk, when the Godfather turns him down, but Sonny interrupts his father, and Sonny and the father is very angry at him and says, "Don't you ever say anything outside the family, indicate anything or any disagreement about the family outside the family." What is your brain getting soft from that girl? That's the point.
That's the one. Love that.
You've got to be together. So We haven't spent much time on Mayor Bass, which is good because she doesn't deserve much time. I mean, this is like this could be like, too bad you can't trade these people, right?
Right.
Like we could trade them. I would look, we're trying to get Greenland and Panama, so I wouldn't trade it to them. I'd trade them to like Venezuela. You know, they do well in a place like Venezuela. They're
Right.
communists, right?
Right.
They have crazy, nutty ideas. They could save all the plants in Venezuela and kill all the people. But there should be a faster way to get rid of homicidal public officials. It's one thing to be a public official and be not the best. Another thing to be average. It's another thing to be a little lazy. Might even be another thing to be crooked, somewhat crooked. You know, you take bribes here and there. These people, I mean, these people are homicidal. They get people killed. I mean, how do you leave for Africa with a note that your city's going to get terrible firefighters, and you don't leave a little note at the bottom? How about checking the fire hydrants? Do we have enough water? Maybe we should rehire some firefighters since I fired so many of them. Maybe we should reallocate some of that money that I used for having a more inclusive fire department. So we're the only fire department in America with all 57 genders on display in our firehouses. I'm only kidding about that. That would mean they would have to have like litter boxes in their firehouse. And I doubt they have. I doubt the firefighters would allow a litter box for anything other than a cat. Certainly a litter box for a firefighter. Why am I laughing? I should be crying. I should actually be crying about the state of this. I don't know. You know, we're counting on Trump for. He can't straighten. How can he straighten all this out?
By exposing it, by talking about it. Not that he can do it all in 4 years, but if someone's up for it, if someone has a chance to at least make a significant dent in all this, I think it's him. And he's got to bring the band back together.
Well, you know, I think the same way it went bad, it can go good. I saw that in New York. I'll tell you the truth. I never thought I'd accomplish as much as I did. I know I've reduced crime. Because, I mean, there's certain things I'm just ridiculously, childishly confident about, the things that I really know. But I had no idea I'd reduce welfare in half and have everybody working. I didn't think I'd get a surplus. I didn't think I'd reduce taxes by more than anyone else. I didn't think we'd become the safest large city in America. What I'm saying is success builds on itself. And then it gets beyond you. It gets beyond what you did. Maybe you get the credit for starting it, but it's like a big snowball that becomes a big giant snow, whatever you want to call it, thing. And then it's a snow mountain. And then it keeps rolling down and rolling down and rolling down. And people join it and people come up with their ideas. That can happen.
And then Bill de Blasio gets elected.
And then Bill de Blasio gets, well, then he melts everything. And because he had his honeymoon in Cuba and his mother was a communist and he's a communist. And that's at the core. Please understand that. This isn't just accidental. It's all planned, all written out there in Marx and future writers who have adapted it very, very carefully to our culture. You know, you go from the split of rich poor to the split of black white, or even more generally, oppressed oppressor. You get control of the children through the Communist Teachers Union. You start building early education. Early education sounds wonderful, 2 years old, 3 years old. But I always wondered, maybe not. Maybe that's the time to be at home. But then again, because we have lots of broken families, maybe not. But when you consider the real thing behind early education is to carry out Marx's dream and Stalin's and Hitler's. Get them at 2. So they become property of the state. And when you see what Tampon Tim does in Minnesota, mutilating children without the consent of the parents, they're property of the state. When you listen to the governors who want to keep the parents out of anything having to do with the schools, or the attorney general who kind of equates them to terrorists because his son-in-law is making a fortune selling all of this child destruction program. I don't know how many children's lives he and his company have destroyed, but not an accident. The attorney general has gone back so crazy on Catholics and parents who are worried about the education of their children. The son-in-law is making a fortune. Nobody reports that. That's why you got to listen to America's Mayor Live, the Rudy Giuliani show. We tell you things that other people don't tell you. Connections. We've been telling you forever about the 50% to Joe for 30 years. When they say there's no evidence that he's getting money, it's unbelievable, unassailable, admissible evidence, called an admission in writing from his son, saying he got 50% of the income that his son earned by selling his influence, sometimes in enemy land. So, Ted?
Yep.
How are the inauguration plans coming?
Oh, they're coming along great.
We were in Washington quickly as we were being framed last week by the most bloodthirsty judge on the planet.
Well, we know that there's going to be a Trump rally in DC. He's going to hold a rally. President-elect Trump is going to hold a rally on January 19th. And this is going to happen at Capital One Arena. This Capital One Arena is home to the Wizards and Capitals hockey team. So right in Chinatown. That's your arena in Chinatown.
That they had, I think they had the main inaugural ball there last time, or one of them.
20,000 can fit.
Oh, I know, but the inaugural ball, you can fit more than that. So he's going to have an indoor rally. That's good. Well, first of all, it's going to be a little cold for an outdoor rally. It's enough to have the inauguration outdoors.
Yeah, and
so he's going to have
DC.
like a traditional Trump rally with him coming out and talking. And
he wants to get one more in before taking office, right?
well, he did them. He did them when he was in office.
You're right, he did.
He did them throughout until damn COVID came along. I maintain that affected the election
Of
as much
course.
as anything else. It's a great weapon for him.
And it allowed Biden to stay hidden in the basement.
Yeah, and it illustrated that. Now, they got away with it then, but they didn't get away with it this time.
Exactly.
She had to go out and campaign. It was the worst thing that ever happened to her. I mean, she, as I told you before, my analysis of candidates, and there are good candidates sometimes that have this problem, but this was a bad one. There are candidates who lose votes when they appear, particularly when you don't have your own firm opinion of them and you're developing it. So when you first meet somebody, think about how you develop an opinion. Don't you develop an opinion really quick? You kind of like them, or you don't like them. You know, I don't know, unless you're an extraordinarily analytical person, of which there are people. Sometimes you don't even know why, right? You don't know exactly. I really like that person, or I don't know what. I just thought about that person I don't like. And there can be some politicians. There are people who are just naturally likable. And they may not be the best people all the time. And there are people that are grouchy and they're not likable. And there are people who have voices that annoy you, and there are people who have voices that you like. Now, when all of those things come together as somebody you don't like, then you have a Kamala Harris. who every time she appears, as long as she goes on long enough, there's a point at which you say, what the hell is she talking about? I do not understand what she's saying. And when you want to be president and people come away with, I don't understand what she's saying, that is really dangerous. And that's why it didn't even work. You know, one of the things you can do when the press, now she didn't have the press against her, but one of the things Republicans can do with the press against them is to stay away from the nasty press, the vicious press, the unfair press, the press that not only is going to be unfair in asking questions, but then they're going to chop up what you did and what you said, and then it's going to live after you. You can stay away from them, and you can go on now that there are so many opportunities. You can go on with people that'll be fairer to you. But when you go on, you have to produce. Whether they're fair to you or not, if you say stupid things, people are going to know you're stupid. And that's what happened with her. She would go on with these ridiculously adoring numbskulls who were, you know, here's wonderful Kamala. By the way, 2 weeks earlier, they were saying she was the most unpopular vice president in history. So she's one of those people who loses votes when she appears. How she became a politician, I don't know. And I don't think she was ever a very good one. I don't, you look at her political history. Her political history was very narrow wins or being selected rather than elected. So it's pretty obvious what was going to happen. Well, now we're getting close to inaugural time, the time for change. Also, the time we got to be careful. I have to say to you, because I try to be as straight and as honest with you as I can, and that is, I'm nervous. I'm nervous about what might happen. I don't feel a great consternation in the country. I don't think there's the feelings that existed 4 years ago or 8 years ago. 4 years ago on both sides, 8 years ago on their side, this hatred and the talk about impeaching him before he even got in office. And I remember it was somewhat dangerous walking back from the inaugural 8 years ago. They were harassing and pushing around Trump people, and I stayed toward the end at the parade, and then I walked back to the Trump Hotel, and I had to help some people out, and I don't think that's going to happen this time, but I don't know, and I would have to assume that it will, for reasons of safety. So I'm not trying to discourage you from going. Of course you should go. And I think there are going to be so many Trump people there. Whether the police protect us or we protect ourselves, we'll be fine. After all, we're not Democrat sissies. Right? Right. Well, we'll be back tomorrow. Apparently a big lineup tomorrow of Trump people on the Hill. So now we'll get a better sense of how the whole thing is going tomorrow, and whether he's going to have a functioning cabinet when he gets started, which is what his aim is. I hope that's the case, because you can't miss a day here. We're so far behind right now, and we have so many challenges. We will list the major challenges for you tomorrow, so you can start thinking about them. When I say list them, there are many. We'll limit it to the top 4 or 5. U.S. China being, in many ways, number one. It's not the most pressing. Obviously, the wars are the most pressing. The illegal invasion is the most pressing. Long term, the confrontation between the United States and China, Trump and Xi Jinping, will determine our future. So, this is Rudy Giuliani. You know, we always pray for the people who are at war. There are so many at war that we don't even know about. So we're going to pray for everyone that's at war. We're going to pray for a very successful presidency for Donald Trump, because that means a very successful U.S. I think every Democrat can join me in that prayer. And we're going to watch on a week from yesterday, one of the greatest things in American history, the passage of power in the longest functioning democratic republic in history. And there was a question about that, wasn't there? But it's been resolved, and you'll see that turnover next week. It'll be historic. God bless America. See you at 7 tomorrow, and then here on X at 8.
The Tunnel to Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T. It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to